Hello and welcome to Bizworld. Now, the Ministry of Entrepreneur Development, MED, is confident that small and medium enterprises, SMEs, can contribute 41% to the country's gross domestic product, GDP, by the year 2020, as envisioned in the National Entrepreneurship Framework. According to its Deputy Minister, Dr. Muhammad Hatta Muhammad Ramli, SMEs' contribution to GDP needs to expand at above 8% this year in order to achieve the target. The Deputy Minister said despite current global economic uncertainties, the target could be achieved by leveraging on the halal market and Islamic products, as well as through innovation and productivity-led growth. He also acknowledged that much more needs to be done in order to achieve the target. To date, SMEs contributed about 37% to the GDP. Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation, MDEC, looks forward to closely working with the Ministry of Finance, MOF, Securities Commission, Malaysia, SC, and other relevant bodies to help shape comprehensive regulations and guidelines on digital currency trading and initial coin offerings, or ICOs. Now, according to MDEC, the move by the MOF to regulate any form of digital asset exchanges, or ICO, by the end of the first quarter this year will bring much-needed clarity to this nascent space. In a statement, MDEC said this progressive view of the potential of the blockchain industry is aligned with Malaysia's Industry 4.0 aspirations and will encourage an additional fundraising channel for entrepreneurs and new businesses. The Ministry of Finance has stated previously that any person offering an ICO or operating a digital asset exchange without the SC's approval may be punished on conviction. Meanwhile, SC said those dealing in digital assets will be required to put in place, among others, anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing rules. In order to implement this regulatory framework on digital assets, the SC and Bank Negara Malaysia will enter into coordination arrangements. MRCB George Kent Sdn Bhd, a joint venture JV company between Malaysian Resources Corporation Berhad, MRCB, and George Kent Malaysia Berhad, has entered into a contract agreement with Prasarana Malaysia Berhad. MRCB and George Kent said the contract agreement was for the Light Rail Transit Line 3, LRT3 project. In November last year, the JV company bagged an 11.86 billion ringgit contract to build the LRT3 project from Bandar Utama in Petaling Jaya to Johan Setia in Klang. The contract sum includes a contingency or provisional sum of 400 million ringgit, which, if not utilized, will reduce the contract sum. OCBC Bank predicts Malaysia's gross domestic product GDP will be facing a moderate growth at 4.4% amid slowing global growth and the ongoing government fiscal consolidation. Chief Economist Selina Ling said private consumption will remain the key driver for the growth of the country's economy.
Essentially, we are going through a lot of headwinds on the external front. So these are not new headwinds per se. Things like the US-China trade war actually started last year. And the Chinese slowdown, like I also said earlier, basically has been many, many years in the making. My sense was that the investors in Singapore...
She said the growth would also be influenced by the supply issue in commodity-driven sectors, such as agriculture and mining. Meanwhile, the financial institution also forecasts ringgit projection to strengthen to 4.00 against the US dollar by the end of 2019 due to a more cautious interest policy by the Federal Reserve. As for oil prices, OCBC Bank expects it to be subdued, with the average price of WTI to be at 60 US dollars per barrel this year, while the Brent crude at 60 to 65 US dollars per barrel. And that wraps up Bizworld this time around. Thank you for joining us. I'm Raymond Goh. Have a good weekend ahead.